everybody, and welcome to the quest for the best director podcast, aka the greatest movie director podcast ever, aka that podcast where Caleb keeps getting mistaken for secret agents. Your host, Matthew Moore, and joining me is a guy who I also happen to meet in a train, and we may or may not have had a night together. Caleb Ferguson. Caleb, what's going on?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'll never forget that night. I think about it all the time.
Yes,
How are
I
you doing,
especially
Matthew?
liked how right after that night, you tried to have me murdered.
Yes, it just heightens the whole experience.
Yeah, yeah. Let's revisit that. Let's go back on that train. I'm good. It's a bit hot in here. I don't know why it's so hot.
Dude, me too. It's hot as hell.
Yeah, it's like 70s today. And it's like really hot. My roommates had the temperature at 81 the other morning. I woke up to 80 goddamn 1 degrees in my house. What are they doing? I don't understand them sometimes. It's like a very like fundamental human level. Anyways, also joining us, it's our sacred virgin of the podcast. Man must not touch him or cast upon him the eye of desire, for in his honor rests the honor of this podcast. Derek Schwarzinski. Derek, how are you, Tabu?
I feel like the opposite of a virgin maiden.
Why is
Whoa,
that?
whoa.
My migraine has defiled me.
Oh my goodness. Wouldn't that have been a way more boring movie? If it was like, should I read my migraine the whole time? Maybe next
I'm a
time.
little confused on that note. Like, why do they care so much about getting her back? Because, like, once this guy's taken her away, she's not virgin no more. Like, who cares? It's done, bro.
Like, can't you just... And also, like, this process is so bizarre, right? They don't actually explain anything about, like, why are we choosing this one? How do we know she's a virgin in the first place, right? Like, a lot of assumptions being made. But,
Yeah.
we'll be back in a bit. This is the Quest for the Best Director podcast. Each week, we break down two directors' movies, pitting the directors up against each other. The better director's movie, that director moves on. We're in the second round. There are 16 directors left. And this week, it is F.W. Murnau and his 1931 film Tabu versus Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest.
Wait, isn't there only 15 left? Because didn't we, like, knock one out last week?
Yeah, it's true. Top 15. More exciting, honestly. But yeah, it's the round of the 16th. It's like, anyways. This week was kind of a weird one, right? Because I think if you look just at the standings, I think this is going to be the case probably for this round and the next for whoever Hitchcock faces. Like, the Hitchcock film is going to be significantly, like, more known, more discussed, like, critically than whoever he's going up against.
True.
Except for maybe Stanley
And-
Kubrick.
Yes, but he's not in anymore.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he isn't. I lied. Leanie's
Yeah,
not in.
y'all the ones who
We just watched his... No, he's not in. No, he is in. He is in. Yeah, yes. I'm wild. Sorry. One of those days. But yeah, just to put it in perspective, Tabu was number 244 on the top 1,000 list, and North by Northwest is number 61, right? And I think also more generally, Tabu's probably not going to be on most like top 100 lists. Not even because of like the quality of the movies, because how few people have seen it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It comes on like a really weird time in cinema. It's 1931 silent movie, but like still American, right? So like by then, Americans weren't really watching silent films, right? 1927 is when Jassinger comes out. 31 is when we have M. So the Germans weren't really watching it either, which Murnau is originally German. So it's just a really weird time for the movie to come out. I think it's kind of been swept under the rug of history. But I was pretty impressed. What do you guys think?
I thought it was really good too. I think notably, like, this might be one of the only movies I've seen like from a really long time ago that deals predominantly with like non-white people that's not racist or like not that racist. I thought they like handled it like pretty well, especially when you compare it to something like Stagecoach, which like came out like later. It was like, I don't know, it's actually dealt with non-white people very respectfully. So that was pretty cool.
And I think that topic it's hitting on too is kind of interesting, right? Yeah, like it's super respectful, but it's a kind of modern topic, right? It does deal with like women's rights and like slight gender politics, but also kind of in this respectful way to the heritage, that it's claiming to like, that whose view we're getting, where it's not even taking a super strong stance one way or the other of like who is. Well, I guess it kind of does, right? If who's in the wrong or who's in the right,
Mm-hmm.
but not in like a really ham-fisted way.
Yeah. I also thought like having like the actors and actresses were like entirely people like of that like that like grew up there and like were from the Pacific Islands like was a really cool touch.
I like that too. Derek, what were your thoughts on the movie?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was kind of like the whole similar in the Italian like neorealism movement, in that it used actors from the region, but as a consequence of that, it had the same problem as those movies, is that a lot of the actors were not very good actors.
The girl was good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought the girl was really
that's what I
good.
was about to say. Except for the girl. The girl was like actually surprisingly good, given that she's like not an actor.
Wait, why is she not an actress?
Well, none of them are. They're pretty much all of them are just like random
They're not
people.
professionals.
They're
I think it's
non-professionals.
like kind of like, yeah, it's kind of rude to say that they're not an actress, but yes.
Not a
But do
professional
we
They're
even
not
know that
actor.
they're not an
professional.
actress? Like
Yeah,
just because they're from the Pacific Islands doesn't mean they're not
yeah,
an
they're not.
actor or an actress.
They're not. They're specifically not.
Mm-hmm.
The IMDb now, Caleb. Let's see. Yeah, her name is. She actually might be. No, she's not. She was in one other movie. Two other movies. And in one of the other movies, she has the same name. I guess they're both the other movies. She's like the same name as she was in this movie, which is kind of funny. I don't know if they're like sequels or what. But
Interesting.
yeah, the guy is definitely not.
Yeah, the one, and
Last
also
name.
the one she has the same name as is directed by John Ford, coincidentally.
Wow,
The connections.
that's crazy.
Also, notably about this movie, F.W. Murnau died. I was like 2 years after this.
No, very
No, he
soon.
died that year.
Yeah.
He died that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is his last film, which is like kind of crazy. Guys, he died at age 42. Like, he was active for 12 years.
Yeah.
I think about some of these other directors 12 years in. Like, John Ford was doing Stagecoach 12 years in, which is like a great movie, obviously. But you know what I mean? It's definitely, I think, as we kind of touched on the podcast, it's a great movie, but it also like has its moments of immaturity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
he does stick a bit too much to like, um, certain tropes, right? He is also the whole racial thing is, slightly problematic. But like in this film, if this movie feels so mature, and it's really taking a multifaceted approach to like this storyline.
And it plays around the whole silent film thing in a really cool way too, where like unlike a lot of silent films, there's no like cutaways to dialogue. Like the only time we actually see words on the screen is when it's like actually in the movie, like a sign or something like that, or a letter. And that's like a really cool effect because you're like never taken out of the action or shown something that's not the story itself, which is a really cool effect.
Yeah, I really like that too. I think, and this is like a Murnau kind of special. He actually does this in most of his movies, at least most of his later movies, where he does this whole no dialogue thing. I think it makes it way more dynamic. Oh gosh, before we get to the last laugh, because he actually has a really funny play on this whole thing in the last laugh. But maybe next round we'll see.
Mhm.
One thing I'm also impressed with is like some of these shots, like especially considering the time, are really really hard to do.
Yeah, like on the boat.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll get to that. Even from the beginning, though, like the waterfall shots.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought about? They have like 7 people climbing a waterfall. Have you guys ever tried climbing a waterfall? It's not like that easy. And I understand these people are like, they're locals or whatever, so they're probably slightly more experienced at climbing waterfalls. But like, you gotta think like how many times they had to do it perfectly, and then like everyone has to get to their spot perfectly, until he cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that is crazy to me. Like how much devotion he has to these sort of things. When like you could have thought like one person climb it, or like even he could have cut away because we get them climbing up the waterfall. We get the whole shot of them walking up the waterfall. He could have showed them getting on, cut away, cut back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, like, so many of these shots have like water and like moving water, like splashing around. And I
Mhm.
can only imagine, like, it would have been hard to like keep all that equipment dry, like especially in that time where I would imagine the filming equipment is
Yeah,
rather bulky and cumbersome. Like to keep it all dry and like not getting messed up, pretty impressive.
yeah. And like you were saying, Caleb, these. Well, first thing I should really quick give a quick summary of what Tabu's about, which luckily it's not too long of a story. Basically, there's this couple in this like village in the South Pacific. There's kind of like budding romantic couple, and the girl basically shows them to be the island nation's like virgin. I guess like she wasn't like a goddess figure, right? She was literally just like their sacred virgin. I guess sacred. That's the
Yeah,
word.
it's a good way
She
of
was their
putting it.
sacred virgin. What?
I said, oh, I just said that was a good way of putting it.
Yeah, their sacred virgin, and I should wait. And she does not want to be. He does not want her to be. So they kind of run off. And then eventually they get found, and he's trying to get enough money for them to basically leave. And as he's trying to make this money, he does this really great moment where he like dives down super deep in the sea, like where this shark lives, to get this pearl so that he can pay off their trip to go, I guess, further on. And then while this is happening, she gets kidnapped. He chases after her, and he actually dies, which was super shocking to me. And it shouldn't have been, but it
Yeah, I
was.
mean, he's like swimming in the open ocean. Like, there's no way he's gonna make it.
Well, I don't even mean that, but I just mean, well, first thing, Derek, that has not stopped a lot of directors before. Okay.
That's true. But honestly, if he had not died, I would have been more upset.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's why it's so good, right? Because once again, this is not stopped a lot of directors before. But also, just like from a narrative perspective, his death is really built up, and thematically, it makes a lot of sense.
And also, the
Like,
shot of
how
it
they keep.
is actually incredible.
Yes. Oh, you want to get into that?
Well, just the fact that so little of him is actually seen during that entire like, which is I think an interesting take. I think a lot of directors would have been like showing him struggling a lot more. But like realistically, when you're like that exhausted out in the open ocean, you kind of just like fall away.
I don't understand how they did this, right?
Yeah, and like physically, thinking about him having him like do this in the open ocean. I guess maybe they did it in like a pool or like a lake or something that was kind of shallow and maybe just had him artificially drop. But even then, I don't know.
I mean, I just have a hard time believing that because like the bobbing of the boat seems so natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And we get a lot of shots of that. I think it has to be the ocean. I don't know.
and if they did actually do it in the open ocean, that's kind of terrifying.
I mean, there are a few. Actually, I mean, the thing is, the way it's shot, right? Like, it's not that wide,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it very well could have, could have been like a boat right next to him driving by, but just like how calm that scene is. You know what I mean? Not, and I guess that's why I love it so much because it's never really panned to be like a heroic action movie rescue scene, right?
yeah, with him like struggling and like fighting the waves like
Yeah,
surf.
and then like it's not like a dramatic like da like oh no. He kind of just like it gets calmer and he gets further away, and the boat keeps going and he doesn't. It's beautiful.
And I think you guys made a good point in that it's like it's built up to and it's foreshadowed well enough to where like it feels like right that he dies. Like even though it's like kind of sad that like our protagonist is dying, it feels like that was the natural conclusion to what was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like it doesn't like hurt that bad. I guess I don't know.
Why do you think it was a natural conclusion though?
Because like the name of the movie's Taboo, and there's all these taboos, and they just like keep breaking them and keep doing things that they shouldn't do, and then like eventually like it's gonna catch up to you, which is the way it works.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Or at least that's the literature like stereotype that like the hero is like doing all these things that everyone's like, no, don't do that, and then keep doing it, and then there's a
it all works out in the end, but it doesn't actually work out in the end, right? It's like
Mhm.
the world isn't a romance action movie, right? The guys don't get to be the hero. And Doesn't help, but this guy is like so likable, right? He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
I think it kills even more. But we've kind of like talked about the end a lot. Let's go back to the beginning and like these scenes that define him as such a nice guy, right? Um,
Hmm.
the movie starts off with them. What are they hunting? And fish, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have a name for him. So we're on guy, our protagonist. He is like the most Chad of Chads. He's literally just throws spears from like 20 feet off and like hooks the fish every single time. It's like kind of fun, nuts. But then we also kind of see like he has this very caring side where he comforts her when she gets in a fight with this other girl. But I think like the one thing that's really important to see is just how much he leaves behind, right? Where he does have this good life, but he leaves it all because he likes her that much.
Yeah.
I think it's super important that Murnau sets it up. And he does it, as Derek would like to say, very efficiently, right? There's actually not much time wasted in this movie, which I like.
Hmm.
Yeah, big fan of that.
But I think what's cool is that they do take time to like do little detours and like just show you some like cool, fun stuff, and it's like really fun when they do. Like the whole dancing scene when they're having their whole like ceremony celebration thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the whole time I was watching that, I was thinking like, damn, this is like almost as good as French Can Can. This is like really
Oh,
good.
for sure.
All the dancing and music, and it just like works so well, so visually appealing.
And I think I'm not okay. I probably shouldn't say this, but I think for this movie, we can pretty much directly associate the music with the film. Like I'd like to think. I know it's this way for Sunrise at least, so I assume it's also this way for Taboo. That the score was given to the movies. Like it's because we're in the sound age now, right? So you
Hmm.
can actually attach a score to the film.
Hmm.
So as we now analyze it, it's important to note. But yeah, even in celebration scenes, Caleb, which are like, amazing and beautiful, and we have like really cool use of diegetic music. But then also there's some weird stuff with that too that we'll talk about in a sec. It's great because they're also doing character building scenes. It's also character building all the meanwhile, right? Every reaction that she gives, our female protagonist gives, kills me during that dancing scene.
Like how so?
Emotion because what she's preparing for, and she's supposed to be happy. Like, I'm talking about like the ceremony, like when she's announced and stuff. Like the ceremony took basically for her. She's
Hmm.
supposed to be so happy, and like she just can't be.
Yeah.
There's so many close-ups on her face where she's just dying inside.
Hmm. Yeah, I get what you mean about like the characters being so good too. Like they make such a cute couple. Like when they're kind of like running off in the sun, like partying on the island and just like living in their hut, being together. It's like you like really want them to be together. They're just
Yeah,
like man, what a cute couple.
and it's like the natural charisma they have is like they dance together.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah, I
so
haven't seen
fun.
that.
It's like Fred Astaire and don't help me out here. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Astaire and Rogers like before, but also like South Pacific, and actually
Hmm.
feels more natural to me because it's really like a beautiful kind of like tribal dance.
Hmm.
I wonder what their relation is like in real life. But
I
and
don't
then of
know.
course like the best part about that scene is she looks so happy once they start dancing together. You know what I'm talking about? Like in the tribal scene,
Yeah, exactly. It's like
her face just
all the
lights
bad
up, and
stuff
she
is
goes from like
coming
these
to
like
kind of like go by the wayside for a little while.
I love it.
Yeah, good scene.
What do you guys think about so we kind of second third in the movie is basically they run off together, right? And they live in this little hut, as Caleb was kind of talking about. What do you think about these scenes? Any of them stand out to you?
What do you mean?
Like any of the scenes where they are running away but they have not been found yet. Did any of them stand out to you? Positively, negatively?
Oh, let's see. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, yeah. So there was this really great shot at that time where like the ship like kind of comes in from the left of frame, I think, because like we're just kind of like looking at this like little dock area, and then like, this like big ass ship like comes in from the left, and just the camera isn't moving; it's just the ship. I really like that shot. because it just like kind of looms in and it carries with it such an ominous weight.
Derek, you got anything?
Not I got anything that part.
By the way, what do you guys think? Sorry, backtracking a bit. What do you guys think of the scene where it's announced that she is going to be a secret virgin? That whole setup where everyone's rowing out.
Oh, it seems so good. Like all the boats just going through. Like, that reminded
And
me a
then
lot of
them
the
all
scene in.
climbing onto it. Once again, like, how is he doing this? Having all these people climb onto this boat, get into position, and like there's no once the climbing starts happening, there are so few cutaways.
Mhm. It kind of reminded me of that the fishing scene from Stromboli. Just because of the setting with all of the
Yeah.
water around. Like it was really good. Like when they're all just kind of rowing, and then this guy's kind of late, and it was really sad when like he gets there like kind of after the announcement
Mm-hmm.
that she's gonna be the virgin, and then he's like just kind of trying to like play with her, and like throw the hat on her or whatever it was or the lei. Yeah, that was sad.
It was really sad. There's like a lot of emotion there.
Hmm.
Also, man, old man's really exposed to everyone that she's a virgin, huh?
Yeah,
She really kind of threw that up there.
yeah. I also thought some more cool scenes when they were kind of on that other island, were like when that old priest man would like just kind of like he like appeared like out of nowhere in the doorway. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure. Yes, I do. Yeah, and it's like super ominous, like he's like a ghost or something. It almost seems.
Yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. Like I wasn't even sure if it was real, but obviously it was.
Hmm. That guy's pretty. He's a pretty well set up villain, huh?
Yeah.
Like they
Hmm.
gave him just enough unlikable material and like a pretty good like character costume design. You might say good costume design, right? Definitely go light on the costume, but they give him like enough that he's like unlikable. Like when he's like hornily nodding as she like dances, it's like it
Hmm.
feels horny to me. Maybe I'm just like a perv myself. But you know what I'm talking about? It's like him and the other old guy look at each other and like, yeah.
Yeah, vaguely. I think I would know what you're talking about. But
But then yeah, it's like
in
the
general, like
foreboding scenes with like him in the doorway. Like the doorway, I think it really accentuates like him as the bad guy, right? Like it's almost like this portrait. Like okay, so in the metaphor sense, right? Doorways are like what's to come. You know what I mean? And seeing him in the doorway, it kind of like solidifying like this is what she is. This is where she is going to. This is what's going to happen when she leaves. She's going to him, right?
yeah,
This like inevitability, which like makes it all the more like dreary.
yeah. I agree with you what you mean, and they didn't like give him too many bad qualities to where like you feel like he's a monster. It's just kind of like he's an antagonist more than he's a villain, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, until the end's a bit harsh on his part. He really could have let the guy get on.
Mm, I think though, if he would have, I think the guy probably would have killed him, or you know,
Yeah, fair enough.
like he had to
What do you
kind
guys
of
think
escalate
of
at that point.
the two shark scenes? How do you feel about those?
Uh, I don't even remember them specifically. Was there anything about them that really stood out to you?
Yeah, not really. Which is kind of like my biggest complaint with the movies. I feel like that should be a bit more dramatic of a scene.
Yeah.
Um, the first one I remember, I think I actually enjoyed a bit more, just because I guess the general panic as like they see the shark and just everyone rowing away, and it does feel like pretty intense. But yeah, the second one, I mean, I guess are these live sharks? What do you guys just calling that?
Probably not.
Yeah, I did think so.
I'm looking back because I kind of agree, but then what are they doing? They shove someone with like a fin under the water.
More than likely, I
I guess
imagine.
there's never anything. I think they are live sharks, but I don't think
I don't think
they're
there's,
ever close enough.
considering the budget they have, I don't expect there's any way they could have gotten a shark. Well,
Except they could row out into the ocean, but I found one. I mean,
rowing out into the ocean and expecting to get a shark is probably more expensive than actually getting a shark.
sure. How do you know it was low budget, by the way? What makes you say that?
Oh, I looked it up. The budget, it was like really low.
Okay. What do you think makes everything more impressive, right? Because it shows you, once again, we're talking about like these waterfall scenes, right? Scenes like the things he can spend time on, he's spending like you can't spend money, you gotta spend time, right? And he
Yeah,
takes his time with some of these scenes. I think is in a super rewarding way.
yeah, I agree with that. Also, the sign on the shark's lake or whatever with a taboo was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Also, since we were kind of talking about the final boat scene where the guy like basically kills the protagonist, that's such a great scene where like the camera just kind of does this like really close shot of the rope, and then this hand with a knife kind of just dashes in from out of frame and cuts it, and then leaves. It's really cool.
like how snap of a decision it is, right?
Hmm.
Also,
Yeah.
yeah, gosh, I really love that ceremony scene. Just like all the guys dancing, like they're really just like chilling, Like this is like how they have fun. You can
Hmm.
really feel it.
Yeah.
And also, I think we get like I guess we don't ever get like a directly behind, but we definitely like it definitely breaks the 180-degree rule. But like, it's really impressive for a scene that has so much continuity. But we
Hmm.
get our cameras are all around, which I think is like really crazy to like do in a scene like this.
Yeah.
'Cause I assume that like it's filmed in more or less one take. Obviously not, I guess, because we're just talking about this camera placement. But like, it feels like it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's super impressive as well. Yeah, just like once again, setting up the villain, like during this dancing scene, there's all these like contrasting shots of like them smiling and dancing, and then like the old guy like stoically like looking, stoically looking, stoically looking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like definitely the foreboding.
Once again, nothing he's doing is bad, but just kind of like this is not what he's about.
Hmm.
I dig it. Okay, Derek, do you have anything negative to say about the film?
I think I already said it. The acting was
It just
very
feels
subpar.
like you're being kind of quiet, you know,
And usually
and
that means
you have
The
something to say.
and I would say the narrative itself is pretty boring.
Why?
Um, it's kind of the usual romance, like forbidden romance thing. The fact that he
Okay,
dies
what
at the
is
end,
okay?
in the way he dies at
What
the
is the
end,
usual
is
forbidden romance
that
thing?
there's a authority figure that says that one dude can't be with the other person, or one person can't be with the other person, and one of the person's like no, and then they run away, and then the person that said you can't be together, I'm an authority figure, and you can't, comes and finds them and separates them, and either the hero somehow gets together again or dies. And in this case, he dies. But it's cool that the way it's set up at the
See,
end, which
what
I'm
I
a fan
disagree
of.
on though, I'm gonna make one distinction. And I think it's either A, the hero, they both live, or B, they both die. You know, it's
Mm,
like either Romeo and
that's the
Juliet
yeah
or Happy Ever After.
yeah that's the Romeo Juliet. I think that's like the addendum to the first to the second one. But the second one, I think in general, is that the hero dies because like it's Sildor is like the basis of Romeo and Juliet. In that one, the heroine doesn't die, so it's kind of like
Sure, I
originally.
guess I just mean like in a filmic context. I can't think of many films where just the guy dies. And I guess like Titanic, but that's not really forbidden love. That's more just. I guess that's kind of. It's not the same. It's not the same storyline you're talking about, though, right?
Yeah, so it's
I
kind
mean,
of
obviously, I think forbidden love is kind of like a trope to some degree, but I don't know. Like, I feel like it does enough things that are interesting that I think it's okay.
I think directorially the shots are interesting. It is the problem is that for me the narrative is generic enough that I kind of just expect it. And then usually in stories like that, it's either the characters and the acting that gets me through it, or like just amazing directorial work. And his work's pretty damn good. That's why I wasn't like super upset. Obviously, things feel pretty good.
But do you not like the characters? Because that's like actually kind of nuts to me.
I like the woman, but obviously, as I've said before, pretty much all the other actors aren't
Yeah, but you said the actors or the characters or the directorial work.
exactly.
We're
And
talking about-
I was about to say, in this case, in like a silent film, for me, most of the like work for me to like a character is the acting.
But see, I think he is. Okay, also I don't know who this person is, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like there are things he is really good at, and those things are the things that make him likable, right? Like his like complex emotion scenes, yeah, they could use work. But like the scenes where he just has to be happy-go-lucky, he's really good at that, and he has like a great smile that like really draws you in, and I think it makes him likable because
And
he's such like a
I
happy
think as
like.
a character, being happy-go-lucky isn't very all that likable character trait. At least enough for me to be invested enough to like overlook a boring narrative. So that's just kind of the dichotomy I was dealing with.
I forget my kind of the narrative because like once again, so as I was saying, it's usually they either both die or they both live, right? Because
I
they
I'd say the both die is a subgenre, but
no,
of
okay,
the
well,
second
what can you
part.
name me a film where just the guy dies?
Uh, I can give you one where the woman dies, Chinatown, and I guess that's a kind of deconstruction of that. But
Yeah. Chinatown's also, one of the greatest movies of all time and was after this.
yeah, so I think it's
Like,
just like a general sense because it's just a basis on the classic Isildur, which we saw in The Woman Next Door and whatnot. So it's just kind of like
but I guess my thing is that usually the story they like to tell
the
is love lasts forever, right?
and
They
the
either both die together or they both live together. I don't think it's a subgenre.
yeah, I think
I
is
think not having them both die in the 20th century is itself like a manipulation, is itself a deconstruction.
because it's kind of like probably a large because this is like a Western film thing, in that the influence of Shakespeare and like Romance of Juliet has twisted that like kind of like classic Tristan and insult thing, that it's kind of like just a given at this point that both die. But I think in like a broader sense, it's kind of like just the hero
Yeah, I'm
dies.
saying in its 20th century context, which is when this film was made.
Yeah, I'm saying my point in a narrative sense is way broader than just a 20th century sense.
But this film was made in like I just feel like,
It's he said it's because it's a Western film, Matthew. That's what you're not getting here. If it was an Eastern film,
but
No,
it's not.
you'd be.
no, I'm
You'd be
saying when I say
Get
this is a
up.
boring narrative, when I say something's a boring narrative, I don't mean this is a 19th century or 20th century film or 19th century book or whatever. In the context of all narratives that I've ever seen or
Okay, but
read,
that is unfair. Like it
it's
is,
not unfair
like
because
it
obviously
is because if it is deconstructing a genre,
I can't like turn off my brain that has seen like whatever I've
yes,
seen
you
or
cannot. But what you can try to do is sympathize with the audience it was made for, which is the audience of the 1930s.
I mean I can, but obviously analyzing from that standpoint isn't true to my standpoint and point of view.
But it's also not true to what Murnau is doing, so it's like unfair.
Well, what he's doing, I have to analyze from my point of view, and I can
No, you can.
attempt
No,
to.
it's not true though. We
I
have enough context about
I
film that we don't have to. In
I
fact, I'm
can
telling you
attempt.
the
Let me finish
context.
real quick. I can attempt to, but that's beyond the point and disingenuous to my experience of the film.
Okay, so you were saying you can attempt to, but why can't you? Why is it disingenuous? I just don't understand.
Is disingenuous
Like,
to my experience of the film. I am
I guess
experiencing the
like
film,
you're just like,
not the person who was born in like 1910 and like never read a book and then saw this movie.
but it's not about even. It's every movie you're given, like this is a genre, right? Man saves woman, and silent films. They are a genre.
Yeah,
He is deconstructing this genre. I think it's not as much like a time thing, but it is like a genre thing.
and irregardless of that,
It's like saying, like, if there's a superhero film, like The Dark Knight, is amazing because it deconstructs that genre, right? Where it gives you the opposite of a complex villain that people always want, right? Now, if you're gonna be like, well, I actually read comic books and they have tons of non-complex villains that have already and they've already deconstructed the genre, you would not say, oh, so The Dark Knight is a bad movie because in a filmic context, it is still very good because, yeah, for that reason because it is deconstructing for film.
yes, but in my point of view, if I were to say this narrative is boring for XYZ reasons, is it disingenuous to be like all of a sudden like, but because like average person is like never experienced these things, then I can see where it's good. From my point of
But it's
view,
not
what my point is that I find the narrative boring.
okay. I'm gonna this fight. But I do not find this narrative boring. I think it's super interesting that he does only kill one, right? Because as we kind of touch on top, it's a theme of what's taboo is meant to be taboo, and sometimes like the way of the young, the way of the spontaneity, like isn't right, and things just sometimes don't work out, right? I think that's a great message, or at least
I
an important
concur.
one. You don't care? Oh,
No, I
you
said I
concur.
concur.
My headphones are a bit wonky. Okay, we ready to move on to North by Northwest?
Yeah.
Let's just start it off with, well, first I'll give a quick summary. North by Northwest. I'm gonna make sure I don't get any of the information wrong here. It is a 1959 film by Alfred Hitchcock, which stars Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint. By the way, do not look at their IMDb pages because I'm about to do a quiz later. Which stars the characters. Cary Grant plays this guy Roger Thornhill, who is mistakenly identified as a secret agent for the United States. And consequently gets okay. I know I should know this, guys. They are Germans, right?
They are. I mean, his name's
Yeah.
Van Damme. That's a
Yeah.
fairly German
They
name.
never explicitly say it. Yeah, I wanted to. I assume they were Germans for that reason too, but they don't actually say.
I don't know about that. I think they're supposed to be like basically Americans who have basically like become spies for the Russians.
That makes.
Okay, so
I can see that.
they're
Yeah,
Russians then.
that makes
So
sense.
it's like Cold War.
It's definitely the Cold
So
War.
they're like
Okay, so
double
they
agents.
definitely say
Okay.
Cold War too. I was confused because Van Damme didn't seem
Yeah, I mean
Russian to me.
Van Damme and Valerian. Oh, I guess Valerian's kind of Russian, but I don't know.
Kind of.
I mean, but they don't have to be from Russia.
You're true, Caleb.
Yeah,
They're okay. So
that's
they
true.
are operating for the Soviet Union, right?
Yeah, but I don't. They don't have to be Russian to do that.
Yeah,
Sure.
that
No,
makes
I
sense.
agree. That makes sense, Caleb. Um, operating for the Soviet Union, and they basically try to kidnap and murder him. He escapes, but through escaping, and it kind of convolutes sense. He ends up kind of getting framed for a murder, basically after trying to figure out what just happened to him with the whole kidnapping thing, and he has to go on the run. And this is where he meets Eve, played by Eva Marie Saint, and the two go off to Chicago, where he tries to figure out more about what's happening. What he ends up finding out is that she is actually a government agent spying on these Soviet operatives for the government. And she's posing basically as the guy's the antagonist Philip Van Damme's love interest. And the only reason he got blamed is because he was thought to be an agent that was actually made up and was just made to distract them from Eve Kendall, who that is played by Eve Marie Saint.
Well, inadvertently
And then
distract them.
what?
The person he's like Kaplan is a person that they created, but then Cary Grant inadvertently distracted them by
Yeah, exactly.
Kaplan.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah, really works out for the Americans. And then their final plan was basically she was going to go back to she basically fake kills Thornhill, and unbeknownst to Thornhill, the reason she did this, he was in on that plan, but he didn't realize it was so she could get back in with the Soviet operatives, and then he ends up kind of rescuing her from them. Oh, we never really get the ramifications on the U.S. government side, do we? Yeah, I guess we don't.
What do you mean, like
But
ramifications on the U.S. government side of?
because she's not supposed to be doing this, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I got you. Well, I mean, she
and
was about to
then
die, so it's kind of like no matter what, they're.
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, so then what ends up happening is, but also Van Damme kind of finds out that she's an agent. She's about to kill her anyways, but then so Thornhill rescues her, and they live happily ever after at the end. Okay, Derek, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. What are your thoughts on this movie?
It was pretty good. I'm gonna say. I think it was kind of interesting in that this comes before like James Bond movies, and it feels like a very James Bond movie. And also, I can see like a lot of where the influence on James Bond came from, like cinematographically, like with specifically like the car chases being from like the front and whatnot. Um, I guess they took a lot
Hitchcock's
from.
a big fan of that.
Yeah, I guess they just took that in
Hmm.
general from Hitchcock. So it's kind of interesting because you can kind of see like this is like 2 years or 3 years before like the first James Bond film. So it's kind of like this is the beginning of it all.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Caleb, what were your thoughts?
I thought it was a lot better than the previous Hitchcock movie. I thought it was a good narrative. It was a little schlocky at times.
What do you mean by
I thought,
schlocky?
huh?
What do you mean by schlocky?
Like the romance stuff was very much like Derek said, like in the James Bond genre
Yeah,
of like being real cheesy. But
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, Caleb, that basically all the criticisms you made about that for the last movie, I thought were actually true of this movie. Like some of the romance stuff is pretty iffy in there. How much to focus on physicality and stuff.
oh, that's I was about to bring that up. It's interesting because that's a basically like Hitchcock's like middle finger to like the rules in Hollywood because like the rule was that you can't have like a kiss longer 30 seconds. So he did the kiss and then just like broke it up with like dialogue to make it like 2.5 minutes long.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like a big fu. I thought that was hilarious.
I meant actually, sorry, I meant less that more like the comment on each other's physicality with like the whole like, you're so sexy, I
Uh,
want you right away. It's kind of like on both sides, you know, like.
I think that's also
yeah,
kind of like an
agreed.
fu. Obviously, it's not fair to say that in the context of like what's going on that it's okay because like obviously it's not okay. It's kind of
Also,
like
Hitchcock's been
iffy.
known to not treat women on a set the best. Yes,
Yeah,
continue.
but if you look at it like what the romance of this time period is this is like fairly graphic for what is
Well,
usually
I'm
done.
sorry, Derek. I can't actually view this through the romance of this time period.
Yeah.
I
Again,
can
I
only
said
because I've seen so
I
many romances
said
like this.
I said it's obviously not fair because it's obviously not okay. That's what a lot of the problems with James Bond films are. But it is kind of interesting that this is the first one really to do it.
Is it because I feel like I've seen so many do it that it's like not that interesting.
I mean,
I watched Game of
timeline
Thrones.
was. I mean,
Yeah,
especially
what timeline?
especially considering that James Bond comes after this. Also, it's kind of interesting. I think that the physicality of it is kind of reversed because like you see in like specifically James Bond that it's like James Bond super suave and he just comes on the woman.
Sure,
But this is
yeah.
like entirely just like the woman just blindsiding Cary Grant. Eva Marie Saint is just
Mhm.
like and also she's like obviously the super spy, and he's just like this dude like bumbling around. That's like obviously the complete opposite of James Bond.
Okay, can I do my little quiz thing right now? I couldn't think of a good time to put it in there, so we're gonna do it now.
Yes.
Do you guys know Eva Marie Saint's still alive, but she's not acted in a while. The last time she acted was in a TV show in 2012, right? 2014. Do you guys have any idea what this TV show is? Please do not look it up. I will say
Nope.
it is a TV show that I have not watched, but I know Caleb's watched,
Yeah.
and I believe Derek has watched.
Yeah. I cheated a little because I looked up Eva Marie Saint before watching this.
Okay,
But yeah.
Caleb, you don't know.
Nope.
It's like she is Katara in Legend of Korra.
What? That's so
I
cool.
know. It is pretty cool, huh?
What's also cool
Mhm.
is that she was on the on the waterfront.
Yeah, she had some pretty big roles.
Yeah.
She also in Titanic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Katara. Who knew? I haven't seen Legend of Korra. She's like, I guess she must be an old lady by that time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. She's the
Pretty
old
cool.
lady.
Shout out to Eva Marie Saint. Yeah. Back on the topic. But this movie is the one that you guys haven't talked about, which I'm kind of shocked at, is how beautifully shot it is.
Yeah, I was
Correct.
about to say that. Like, yeah, the narrative's kind of iffy, especially the romance, but like the shots are like so good. Like, I was like blown away because like especially I first thought this because like the all the car shots like from within are kind of like framed very interestingly. It's like almost like a painting. It's so interesting because like it's like so hyper forefront the characters, and then like the background's like always like you know what the background is like and everything, but it's like very like painting X.
If you did you guys notice that like almost everything in this movie was like at an angle?
Yeah.
Like nothing was like everything was rotated toward this all these like all this like angularity across the diagonal of the frame.
It's
really
anxiety,
cool.
right?
Yeah, and then also like it's interesting that you say he rotated because like then he does like a entirely like above like bird's eye shot of like the embassy as Cary Grant runs out of it is like just hyper, just like crazy because it's like so high up. It reminds me of like Beetlejuice or what we saw from The Shining of like the hedgerow.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly Beetlejuice is when I first saw it because like the color palette is like so like almost like horror-esque because of like I guess my expectations of Beetlejuice. But like it is so weird. Like you see the little Ant-Man run out of the embassy with a cab.
One thing I thought was kind of on a similar note. What I would do is do like a lot of long shot to super close up,
Oh yeah.
and it really provides this tension, right? Because of how unstable it is for us. It's like a really good way of like, setting, I guess, like creating a lack of stability, but never having to, break kind of traditional film trope, or like I guess rules more than tropes. Back on the whole like Hitchcock and his sketchy portrayal of women. You guys ever wonder like what the universe would be like if Alfred Hitchcock like went to the gym? Like I wonder like if Alfred Hitchcock kind of was like just a bit better with the ladies, like how things would go. Seems to be a lot of anger there, but
He also with the camera to talk about the shots, like he does like a lot of movement too that like provides a lot of three dimensionality to what's going on. Like these weird zooms where like it almost like changes like the field of view of the camera in a way that like it actually like feels 3D, which is really interesting.
yeah.
And then there was this great shot like towards the end, I think, when they're like talking about like getting on the airplane. And let's see, I wrote it down here.
Was it from like the balcony outside of the cabin? Down like
I don't think so. It was when so basically they're like looking at the camera's looking at the villains, and in one of the lines like they say like from a greater height or something like that, and then as they're saying greater height, the camera literally like moves up and starts looking at them from the top down.
yeah,
It's really cool.
that's the one.
And a lot of the forest scenes were really cool too. Like the set was just very interestingly done.
The one kind of group of scenes that we haven't talked about, but I guess some of the stuff this movie's most famous for is the plane scenes, which actually I was a bit underwhelmed by, right? 'Cause you see it all the time, but I wasn't like anything crazy. Anyways, what do you guys think?
Also, like that's like the most convoluted way to kill somebody. Like,
Yeah, actually.
what?
The guy was just a plan.
But
That's
kind
very
of
bad supervillain.
opposite to that is the shots of like them crawling on fucking uh the Mountain Rushmore. Almost about to die. That was like actually terrifying to me.
Yeah, that was really good.
Caused me
It was
almost
surprising to me, like how many like references I could see in this movie, like that other things had referenced.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. Like I'm not sure if it was exactly explicit, but the whole time when he's like at that like weird little crossroads, like waiting to get picked up, that reminded me so much of the Rock Bottom episode from SpongeBob. Did you guys get that too?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, like as the cars go by, he kind of like tries to wave them down, and they just like go by, or he thinks they're gonna be the guy, so he just like looks at the car, like, oh, this is the one, this is the one, and he's just sitting there for a long time.
I'm surprised y'all haven't said anything about him like literally going under the truck as he's about to get hit by the plane.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
That was like also anxiety inducing how close that was.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, the whole plane scene is like a tad underwhelming to me. I had a hard time taking it seriously.
Like of how hyped up it is, but we know he's not like going to get hurt because it's like halfway through the movie, so it's kind of like not super scary. But like obviously, if you just look at it as like shot wise, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's really good stuff in there. Also, I posted in the chat. I know Derek said, I don't know if you did, Caleb. The whole Star Wars, the new Star Wars trailer apparently has a lot of references to North by Northwest.
Interesting.
Yeah, I posted in the chat. I can try to find it, but
No, it's okay. I don't watch plebe shit.
Okay.
Just kidding.
You probably will. Tell me that when the new Star Wars comes out.
Oh, also, another thing that I think is referenced a lot is the villain, how he would like always have his hand on the back of the neck of the female character. Like that's referenced in a lot of movies where like there's a kind of like female that the main character is trying to save, but she's actually kind of like under the thumb of the bad guy, and then you're not sure where her loyalty lies. Like I've seen a lot of movies that have that situation where the hand will be on the back of the neck.
James
It feels
Bond.
super invasive, right? I think it works super really
Yeah.
well.
It's like, oh man, like get your hand off of her, dude. What the fuck? But at the same time, like she's usually like okay with it at the same time, or like at to in some way comfortable in that position. So it like really like hurts to like see the woman like feel comfortable that way under like his thumb. So that's why it works so well when you have that dynamic of like you're not sure which side the woman's on.
Now, I
It
think we
almost
agree
feels
this
like a
movie.
betrayal. It's like you feel betrayed by the woman when she's like that. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
exactly. I think that's actually really good. And yeah, and it just at the same time, it's kind of pervading. Like you can always just end it, right? The neck is such a sensitive spot. And like
Yeah.
some people die from the getting strangled around the neck. I was like, he can always just pull that card if he wants.
Yeah.
One thing I was gonna ask is, and this is one of the things that has me most conflicted with the movie, is I mean, Alfred Hitchcock is the master of suspense, right? It's title, and there's a reason for it. And I don't think
That's what they
anyone's
tell
going
me
to say
anyway.
anything. What?
I said that's what they tell me anyway.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's just going to say like, "Oh man, he really messed up this, making this suspenseful and amazing." What is the theme of the story?
I don't think it really has one. It's kind of just like romance spy story.
Yeah.
Theme. What do you mean by theme exactly? Like, what's it?
Anything.
What it's trying to
Anything
do?
Yeah. What is it trying to do besides like give us a suspenseful, good, story?
Kind of like, I think there's kind of like some things going on with like the government specifically, like
So
innocent
I'm with you,
man gets
Derek.
like thrown up basically to the side by the government for expediency and stuff like that. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that element, but then like, there's no payoff, right?
I think the payoff is the fact that he manages to win, irregardless. So maybe there's kind of like some American dream thing there going on. I don't know.
I think you can make these claims, but I don't think that he was necessarily going for any sort of like big political or thematic message. I'm pretty sure it was just a spy movie.
It feels like if he did, he could have like spent more than 10 seconds on the ending, right? I'm not like criticizing for spending 10 seconds on the ending, but
I
if he
like
did
that
want
a
to send just a
lot.
political message,
How quick the ending is, because it's just like, I don't know. I'm a efficiency guy, obviously, but it just like just hyper, just like get to the point. Is like you understand what happened, like
yes, but
showing
once
it
again,
all
it
is
makes
like
it so that there's no meaning. The movie is like almost devoid of meaning.
I don't think it's a devoid
Which
of
is fine.
meaning.
Like I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I don't think it's bad that there's no like big moral to the story or anything. I think it's
Yeah.
just like it's clean. Like he did what he wanted to do. He's not dipping his toes into a bunch of different thematic stuff that is just going to distract from the movie. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, ultimately, this is kind of just like hyper focused on what he's trying to do. I suppose you could say it that way. And like ultimately, if you're trying to tell like an efficient like spy movie, like all those themes of like are of morality and all this other stuff kind of really just gets in the way. I suppose. Caleb said.
I guess I just feel like
Not,
all of these movies are gonna have good, exciting narratives to me. So,
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that.
it kind of comes down to like you got to be doing something more, something special,
That's
something
actually
more
a great.
ambitious.
That's actually a great take because I think like uh, it really sums up how I feel about this movie is that like it does what it's doing really well and like it's a good movie for sure, but I don't it to me like it doesn't hit me on like every level like some of these other movies do where like yeah, this movie has great shots, a pretty interesting narrative and all that stuff, but it seems like some of these movies have great shots, a really interesting narrative
Yeah.
and
but we're not
the thematic
judging
stuff.
this movie on like other movies that we've seen, like Clockwork Orange, etc., like we just saw. We're judging this against Tabu. But
That's fair. I
Tabu
agree.
did do that.
I agree.
I would not say Tabu had important themes, or at least
It did.
anything to make up for the kind of boring narrative, or at least
Okay.
fight with the
The
fact
boring
that
narrative, once again, in your opinion, because
Yes.
apparently you can sympathize with Alfred Hitchcock making a spy movie in the 50s, but not with Murnau going counter genre in the 30s.
I
Because you've seen James Bond, but then you haven't seen the other, enough silent movies to make that opinion.
I'm not judging
he
this
does-
on
he is
spy
doing stuff.
movies.
I'm saying you
Speaking
can't say
of
he's not.
speaking of Clockwork Orange, it's somewhat coincidental that both of, that movie we talked about last week and this week and North by Northwest both
Yes.
have Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Let's see what else I got here. I did kind of like while the romance between the two main characters was pretty schlocky, like it did get a little bit more nuanced later on. Like when they're kind of like at each other's necks for a while about like he's basically like making fun of her for being what he sees as a slut and that kind of stuff. Like it adds a little bit another dimension to it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But then she gets with him.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
That's the
But
worst
for a
part,
while
right?
there, it
It's
gets
like,
a little cool.
it could get some. It's like there's something there, but then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, my thing with this movie is, if we're talking about if we're tracking, I guess, how I personally felt, I enjoyed the beginning, but not because I think it was explicitly better than the middle or end. Or I think it actually was explicitly better than the middle, as for a lot of problems we already talked about. But just because like at that point you feel like it's going somewhere, right? It's a super complex narrative, but then the way it goes, once again, once you kind of realize it's devoid of meaning and like this excitement's all you're gonna get, I don't know.
I see what you mean.
That's where I kind of lose interest.
It's like there's like this whole like mystery element to it of like why is he being mistaken for this Kaplan guy? But then they kind of like resolve that mystery like halfway through, and then it's kind of just like
it's like the
well,
anti-Psycho, right?
I've never seen Psycho, so I don't know.
It's another.
And and don't spoil it for me in case I have to watch it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like my main problem. Like the romance kind of like but like the actual problem is that they did the government scene a little too early. They should have done it like probably after the train scene and after the plane scene.
I don't even think they have to do it. I don't know. Do they like?
I think if they
government scene?
I think if they don't do it, then how are you gonna? I guess you'd have to add in a scene explaining who Kaplan is, and I don't know. At the very least, it's more expedient than having like Eve be like, "I'm Kaplan," when it doesn't make sense because she's already with Van Damme, and there's no way that Thornhill is gonna be interacting with her enough to figure that out.
Like some of the beauty of this movie is like how confused we as an audience are, right? And through that we can really like sympathize for Kaplan or Thornhill, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for instance, the scene with the assassination, we haven't really talked about that yet, but like when United Embassies, it's so great because, and it's probably not good practice to do this, but I literally had to rewind because I was so confused, right? Just like a couple seconds, but like, wait, did he just murder that guy? Because at the time you feel like everyone else does, right? All the people around him, like, he's a murderer, Thornhill like killed this ambassador. Turns out obviously he didn't, and you kind of realize that a few seconds later. But it's well shot enough that he does stuff like that without being disingenuous, right? It's not like it cuts away, guy's dead. It's in the same shot.
Yeah.
But once you kind of lose that, it loses interest, right? And I think like there are ways to do this where like you're discovering with him.
It's kind of like you still have to be aware that there's the fact that Thornhill still has no idea until literally the professor.
You don't feel that anymore. You can be cognizant of it, but it's not as strong if you don't feel with him.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I just think it kind of departs from that like a little maybe too early, like Derek was saying, where like our knowledge departs from his knowledge, like kind of early-ish.
Yeah, a little too early, and that's probably like my main complaint with the movie.
I also think like there's this whole cool thing where she supposedly falls for him, but I think because we realize so late who she is, like I gave the part of Sherlock Holmes a lot of crap one thing that is like strong about that movie is that because we know how early like she is corrupt, we get to see their like emotions kind of. They get to see the trajectory of their emotions, but with her, like I can't tell you the scene where she falls for him. You know, other than apparently
Yeah.
like all of a sudden they're in love.
I guess you can also assume that she falls in love with him as he saves her. I don't know. I
No,
think.
but it's before. It's way before, right? And they say the reason she's about to die is because she fell in love with him and everyone noticed because she made too much of a scene out of him insulting her.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
That makes sense. I think I like it being subtle like that. That's cool.
But it's not subtle. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, obviously,
It
if
seems
she
like a subtle growth in like them lying, and it felt like I was lied to. Like I didn't see her fall in love with him, and I think it's also like
well, I didn't go back and
not
watch,
exactly the best.
so I may have missed
What?
it. I may have missed it, but if you're saying that they said right that they figured it out because she like made a scene or made too much of a scene.
Yeah, but I'm saying. So I understand that the moment that we realize she loves him, I'm saying that is different than the moment that she fell in love with him. Like, what does he
Oh,
do? What does he do that actually makes her love him? Because he pretends to be somebody, or he basically flirts with her a bit when she's going into the mindset that she has to flirt with this guy. They have sex, and then she sends him to his death. He comes back, and I think you can almost assume then that she's already in love with him because of how ferociously she hugs him, right? So it's like, is it the sex? Is he just that good? And
maybe.
so I want more of that. Full Game of Thrones style here. But yeah, I don't know.
I guess I didn't think about when she fell in love with him. I don't think Hitchcock cared too much about that. I suppose I don't know.
But he does, because we watched Notorious, and he cares a lot about that in that
Yeah,
movie, right?
yeah, he does.
So we can do it, but he doesn't do it in this movie. And it feels weird. I just don't think this movie stands out so much that it's like hard for me to get 100% on board.
I also thought like the biggest problem with this movie for me is that it was a little too long, in my opinion. I definitely
Yeah,
started
I
to
could see
feel like
that.
a little bit dragged down by the end of like they definitely could have cut out some stuff in the middle, cut
Yeah,
out a few scenes here and there.
especially after watching Taboo, how tight it was. I was like,
Hmm.
you can kind of feel how long this movie is. So
Hmm.
Are we ready to go to the awards?
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. First up, step up or step down was Taboo. Oh wait, actually, really quick. I wanted to hit some Taboo. Sorry. Fun fact: Taboo is also written by Robert Flaherty, who does Nuke of the North, which is like the original documentary on foreign people.
Hmm.
Where, like the whole thing about the nuke is like it's a big sham because like it's a documentary, but it's like super duper staged, and ever since people have been questioning documentaries.
Hmm.
But there's still a fun fact that Robert Flaherty's in there too, which is kind of cool.
That's pretty funny.
Also, Flaherty was like super poor during the making of this film, and like Murnau after this movie came out had to give him like some of the money that he sold this movie to Paramount with, just so he could like continue to live, pretty much.
Classic Flaherty. Anyways, um, was Taboo a step up or a step down?
Step down.
Hot take, step down.
I'm going sidestep. Thought about this a lot, but why do you guys say step
No, you
down?
can't. You can't. You gotta say step up or step down.
I guess I'll go step up just to be contrarian.
I don't know.
I
I
have
think for
no idea how
me,
you said
the
step up.
Faust was way more atmospheric.
Yeah, and also more interesting, just based upon the fact that it's kind of like a really atmospheric adaptation of Faust, which I've like no idea how he managed to do, because like I don't know, it's difficult to do like dark and boding well for Faust. It's like obviously
Mm.
a dark story, but like to actually capture that effectively is too impressive a feat.
I also thought that, to be fair, I really like the dark gothic atmosphericness of Faust, but they do have some scenes in Taboo that kind of like are reminiscent of that, like when they're taking off in the boat like late at night. So gloomy and spooky, which I loved. So I don't know, but still, I thought it was a step down.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say step up just because. So, just from like a context standpoint, Faust is a great movie, right? We agree, across the
Yeah,
board. But Faust, it's not as much ingenuity there, It's a lot of the stuff, the cool stuff he does, it's just building on what others are doing or taking from what others are doing, with all these other German expressionists. To be fair, of which Murnau is still probably the most prominent, right? But there's other guys in the game here. But Tabu, some of the stuff he does, I just don't think anybody else was doing.
yeah. I
Like
also think it
the
has a
cool
lot more variety, right?
Yeah,
And
I
like what it's doing,
exactly.
like kind of like I mentioned before, like it has some like really cool gothic shots, but it also has some really bright, dancey party shots that are reminiscent of French can. So like in a lot of ways, like it's a lot more varied. Like it's not doing one thing super duper well, like amazingly well,
Mhm.
but it's doing like a lot of various things, like still like, extremely well.
And like these underwater scenes, like stuff like that's not easy for that time, right?
Yeah.
Or obviously like these on the water scenes, we've already mentioned how crazy that are, like the waterfall scene, stuff like this, and also of course, we're talking about this dancing scene. Things gives a lot more variety. But in terms of these nature scenes, the only thing you could really compare it to is The Nuke of the North. And I actually really like that movie as well, despite the obvious criticisms. But the thing about that movie is there's a lot more cuts. Like it's a lot more obvious where it's being faked, and which is ironic because it's a documentary. This movie, you can't tell where the fake outs are. I think it takes a lot more keen eye to realize what he's doing, and
Mm,
that's why I think it's like so solid.
yeah, true.
Um, so I say yeah, slight step up. Like get to sit down. I mean, they're both great movies.
I can maybe we
Um,
could definitely see a step up. I might. You kind of changed my opinion on that one.
let's go, Matthew. Okay, now North by Northwest. Step up or step down? I know Caleb's
Step
going.
step up for sure. I did not like. What was the other movie called? It was really bad.
Notorious.
I did
It
not
was
like
not
that
bad.
movie.
It's a good movie.
This movie was pretty good.
Derek.
I'm very undecided. I'll say step down because the acting was just like so much better in Notorious. It was just like crazy
Yes.
good, but like the cinematography in North by Northwest is just like also incredibly just amazing.
Yeah, I would go. Acting goes to Notorious. The shooting, cinematography, framing, all that stuff goes to North by Northwest, and then the storyline goes Notorious. So I would say step down.
Yeah.
Also, I think the peak of Notorious is better too. With that final scene, in Notorious is so good. This is like,
Yeah, I
man.
had to go step down.
Okay, best quote.
Easy, easy.
Well,
Yeah,
if it's so
right,
easy,
right,
tell us.
right at the beginning when he's talking to his secretary, and he like tells the guy, "I have a sick woman. I need to get into the cab," and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And she's like, "You lied to him," and he's like, "I made him a happy man. I made him feel like a good Samaritan. He knew you were lying. In the world of advertising, there's no such thing as a lie. There's only the expedient exaggeration." I like that. I especially like the "I made him feel like a good Samaritan" part. Like, yeah, even if he knows it's a lie, he probably feels like a good Samaritan.
Caleb, what about you?
I liked. It was when, let's see, the interaction between the two main characters in North by Northwest has sort of like changed, where instead of like being all lovey-dovey, they're kind of like at each other's throats, and they're kind of like trying to figure out. I think it's the woman is, or no, the Van Damme guy is like, wait, he was in your room, and then the main character is like, sure, it wasn't everybody. Like,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
pretty clever. There's a lot of
I
good
guess.
like little bits of dialogue in that kind of part of the movie of them just basically being snappy at each other.
I really like the when Van Dennis's big dialogue about you overplay your roles. You're the outrage this, and like you're the something lover, the betrayed lover, or whatever. And then
Hmm.
how it goes. Apparently, the only performance that will satisfy you is when I play dead. That's a really good, cool spy line.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously like ironic, right? Because he literally plays dead later. Um, favorite scene. It's the last scene of Taboo. for me. I mean, I think that's amazing. We can't talk about in detail, so I don't feel need to go too much into it. But it's so strong through like the way he does it. We still can't figure out how he does it. Like it's amazing. So I give it to that.
I like the dancing ceremony scene from
Sure.
Tabu. Or maybe
I'm gonna say
a
Mount
close runner-up
Rushmore.
is when they're in the boat or on the boats.
Yeah, it's a really good one too.
I'm gonna go Mount Rushmore.
Really?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's actually
good.
super scary. Just thinking about those people falling. That was too good.
Because stronger scenes in that movie, but I feel you. I like the Ewan scene in North by Northwest a lot.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
that
say
was a good
also
scene
I just
too.
like that shot from above with the tower or the skyscraper towering over and this little ant dude running out. That one
Yeah, it
definitely
is
would
really
be my
good.
second pick.
Also, like the UN scene's so good, like not only because of the stabbing bit, but because of the whole like sense of confusion when like he like kind of pages the guy, and then he's like, wait, I'm looking for this guy, and he's like,
Uh
that's who I am, and he's like, wait, what? And
huh.
like right as he's like showing him like the picture, and you think you're gonna get an answer, bam, he's dead.
Yeah,
Like so cool, really good timing.
it's so strong. Okay. What about favorite character? It's tough.
Hmm.
Maybe the priest,
Interesting. Okay,
because
what's
he's
a hot
so
take favorite character?
yeah, like he's so ominous. Like every time he appears on the screen, he's like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
this is not gonna work. And like especially when they're like on like the island where they're running away, and then like he kind of just like pops up in the doorway, and he's like basically gives her the timeline or whatever.
Yeah.
Like man, so spooky.
On a similar note, I really like the two henchmen in North by Northwest.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was thinking
oh
that.
yeah, like
They're so henchman-y.
yeah,
I,
like a really like tall, skinny guy, like with the black
Mm-hmm.
hair. He looks like really like almost like an Adams Family character, you
yeah,
know?
Yeah, which is weird because he's like not actually like, unattractive by any capacity, right? But it makes him even
Yeah,
better.
exactly.
It's like a demon that blends in. Derek.
Mhm.
it's tough. I'm gonna just say Thornhill just because I think Cary Grant has probably like the most varied performance I've seen from Cary Grant, like widest extremes. Just the expression that he does,
This is
I've just
your
never
widest
seen.
extremes for Cary Grant.
Yeah, widest extremes from like I'm about to die shock to like the most bland. Like I'm okay.
I'm sure this man's been in a lot of movies.
I've only seen like 5 of his like so far, maybe 6 at this point.
Really? Thought he was more very notorious.
I don't think he's very into. He's very subtle. The differences in what he's
Seen 3 of this
expressing.
podcast, haven't we? That's so
Like the
funny.
difference between varied and subtle is that varied means extreme.
Sure.
There's a difference.
I can get on board with that. Okay, best performance. I guess you're also going Cary Grant, Derek?
Oh yeah, probably Cary Grant. Yeah, technically the best
I'm
actor in the
going.
bunch.
I'm going with the girl in in Tabu.
I agree with that one.
Anyway, our kind of talking about both of these, right? Derek talked about that, and then her we haven't talked about as much. Her expressions are very subtle, but like her happy is just so happy. You know what I mean? Like her emotions really carry the middle part of that movie, especially. I
Well, and
think.
her sad is so sad too. Like
Yeah,
when they're about to have like the dance thing, and she's like on the ground, like laying in somebody's lap, like hiding her face. So good.
I thought her
Like
actual
something about that
man
expression
pose.
just felt like so like human to me. Like damn, she's real sad.
Anne Chevalier.
Good job, Anne.
Yeah, proud of you. 1 out of your 3 movies is top notch. Okay, best movie. Derek, you can go first.
North by Northwest. It's a probably the best spy movie ever, and it does
What?
what it wants to do very well. And the shock comment, just in general cinematography, just like incredible. And I've already said why I don't really enjoy Tabu all that much.
Best spy movie ever?
Yep, I said it. Hot take.
I'm trying to think of like good spy movies.
I would say Doctor No is second.
Sure. Over Notorious. Notorious is a spy movie.
I would say Notorious is like an aside spy movie, and I would maybe give it a rating as a spy movie, but I feel
Because as Caleb would say, it's not genre spy, right?
Thank you. You understand me now.
But according to the top 50 movies of all time, also the lives of others, it's also not genre spy. But anyways, oh wait, I've never seen the 39 Steps, but if it is also a spy movie, then probably a couple others. I'm giving it to Tabu. Thought it was pretty strong. I've kind of already talked about it. My issues with the Northwest. I'm not gonna go into that, but I think Tabu was really good. Super, a lot of ingenuity going on, and super sad that it is Murnau's last film. Caleb, it's up to you.
I want Taboo. It was really good. I've never seen another movie like it. About like in nature, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like really ahead of its time. Plus, it hit me in all the right feels. So, go
So
Taboo.
for the third, is it the third? Yeah, the third week in a row.
or
Derek's got one movie, and me and Caleb have got another. And I can tell you, I already know which movie Derek's voting for next week.
we're doing Solaris and the Passenger, right?
Because we've got an Italian in there.
I literally voted
Solaris.
for an Italian against y'all before, so I don't know what you're on.
It was kind of crazy. What movie? Oh, what's it called? I know it. I know it. It's the one about the boy kills himself.
It is.
Wait, the boy that kills himself. Oh yeah, the children are watching.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. This podcast has been going on for so long.
What'd you say?
I said this podcast has been going on for so long. Like, do you remember watching The Children Are Watching Us? That movie was forever ago.
I was thinking, dude, next we're talking about Tarkovsky. We talked about him in our second week of the podcast. I've not talked about him since.
Yeah.
Besides, like a 5 minute, however many, couple minutes. Oh, this is why his movie was rated 20th or whatever. Sacrifice was pretty good. It's cool shots, we really liked it.
Wait, so what was up against Children Are Watching? So I can find it.
Fake.
Oh yeah, that movie slapped. I love
You
that movie.
voted Children Watching Us over F for Fake? No, you did not. You voted F for Fake. Wait, which Italian movie did you vote against us, Derek?
Is Bressone's French. Oh, Capolo. Capolo. Whatever the fuck.
That is not Italian.
That's Italian.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's Italian.
It is a movie that takes place in Italy by an Italian director.
American. Yeah, it's an Italian American.
And also, I really liked Sika. I almost voted for it. So.
Almost. Also, I almost voted for him too.
My problem isn't Italians. My problem is neorealism that decides to use bad actors.
Now this one's being a meanie. Anyways, yeah, Kid, the good news is you said that you really liked how they didn't cut to anything. Well, the next movie that we're watching by Murnau, he also doesn't he never cuts besides never does any dialogue cards. So
that's good.
Yep. So that's gonna be, I believe it's the last laugh. Let me double check. I'll lie to you guys. Yeah, it is the last laugh. So that's next. Also, yeah, guys, gosh, this is getting super duper stacked, huh? So we haven't talked about it too much, but we're having next run's gonna include the last laugh, crimes and misdemeanors, which feels a bit outclassed here. Woody Allen, sorry, buddy. And then what's our last Dean Cooper movie? It's Barry Lyndon, which I haven't seen, so I cannot comment on. Not as talked about some of his other movies. I'm excited to see it.
I'm just gonna anticipate and say that Matthew's gonna vert Murnau no matter what.
It's not true.
He literally been true so far.
He literally what?
Out of the two movies, yes. 2 out of 2 times.
And I know for sure he's gonna do it again. I'm saying it now.
Wait, so what are the next 2 movies we're doing?
It's gonna be Michelangelo Antonini's The Passenger versus Andrei Tarkovsky's Solaris.
I'm down.
So then, I'm Matthew Moore. I'm with Caleb Ferguson, Derek Jablonski. Thank you for listening, and remember, watch more movies.